Hey y'all, it's Natalie Renee and welcome back to my channel. So, as you can see by the title, we have an extremely long-awaited pottery vlog, and I'm so excited to just share everything that's going on in this video with you all, so come along for the ride. Now, by the time I'm posting this and making this video that you're seeing, like me talking right now, it's June, the end of June. But essentially, I got a wonderful opportunity to join a free 6-week lidded jar workshop at my pottery studio. And so it was just going to be once a week. It was every Tuesday from 6 to 9 p.m. And we were just learning how to throw lidded jars as like basically closed forms. And then in a later stage, which you'll see in the video, you ended up separating the closed form into the bottom and the lid, and it was a great class. I mean, I learned so much. I'll preface, this was a learning opportunity, okay? So my pieces are not going to look perfect, and they may not look like some of the other things that you've seen on my channel, but I at least wanted to share with you all what it was like for me to take a class like that and the different skills that I learned, so that hopefully later on when I'm being intentional about a project that I want, I can use some of these skills to make that happen. So I know I'm filming extremely out of order because I forgot to do an intro back in April. So let's get right into day one. Come with me to my 6-week ceramics workshop. So this workshop is all about closed form lidded jars, which are wheel thrown as one piece and trimmed later into 2. So this was the first class out of 6, and we went through the process of centering and pulling up our walls per usual. And then once we got enough pulls, we set each cylinder aside to firm up while throwing another. So that way we'd have like 3 cylinders in rotation. Each cylinder I threw was about 3 pounds. And then here's me just figuring out what type of body shape that I want on this form. Here is where I start to close the form by collaring in and pulling up the wall and collaring and pulling up the wall back and forth until I get this tiny little hole, and I pinch it at the top, and there we go, closed form. As you can see, I was very excited because this was a wonderful accomplishment. And then here I am just smoothing out over the top. Here are the 3 closed forms finished, and stay tuned for next week when I trim. Hey everyone, welcome to day 2. Pretty much today is just some more throwing, but I wanted to take you through the whole process starting right at the beginning per usual, which is wedging. I also have been using bats more recently, especially during this 6-week course, which was super duper helpful for moving my projects on and off of the wheel. And here I am just getting started with my centering, and I believe this was like 3.5 to 4 pounds of clay, which I am so happy that I even got centered because that is the largest amount of clay I've ever had to center so far. Once I got the clay centered, per usual, I opened up the hole and I had to go really deep. And once I got that open, it was kind of more focusing on making sure that the bottom was not extremely thick because we aren't going to trim these bottoms. I kind of did the process of smoothing down the bottom, thinning it some more, and testing it again with this little needle tool until it felt right to me. I honestly couldn't even tell you what's right because I know I need more practice. Here kind of is the process of me pulling up the walls, and the goal of this for the first go around was to get the walls as high and as sturdy as I could get them. But the key thing in this, even if you don't want your thing so high, you still have to focus on pulling the walls high because you're going to need that extra height to be able to collar in and actually close the closed form at the end. So this is me just pulling up those walls and making sure I can get as much height as possible. As you can see, it is as tall as my hand, and I was trying to put my fist in to like see, but I was too scared, so that did nothing. So here's this piece, and I kind of let that dry, and now that it's been sitting for a little bit, we're back to pull some more walls. The reason why we let it sit is so that it can firm up a little bit, so that way it's more, I guess, structurally sound, quote unquote, before we start putting all of this extra height into it. Now I'm really building out the shape, figuring out what I want. I mean, I can't remember what number piece this was that I did, but I was just experimenting. And here is me actually starting to do the process of collaring it in. So just looking back on this, when you're seeing this, my piece, it's kind of wobbly, I mean, which is fine, but with this collaring situation, it's kind of difficult because you're pulling up and you're closing in. And once you get to that very, very end part where you're finally closing it in, an uneven and uncentered piece can kind of maybe contribute to collapsing, but that did not happen here. Here I am smoothing the piece out. I was actually able to get more of a flat bottom with the help of one of my instructors, and I'm going ahead and using the back of a spoon to create the gallery, and this is going to be how we make the lid. We will see the next part on what to do once everything is dry in the next day, but until then, enjoy watching me just throw another piece. If you are an avid watcher, and I mean avid very loosely since this is only the 4th pottery vlog I've posted, but you would know that I absolutely love this bubble shape. So I had to, during my 6-week lidded jar class, do a bubble shape. And here is me just focusing on collaring that in at the end as well. And yeah, super fun day. Welcome back to another day of my pottery workshop. I am actually trimming. Quick recap, I was throwing lidded forms, and that divot you see is called a gallery, which I'm going to use to separate and make the top. Here's where it got scary because it fell off the wheel, but I was able to remove the top successfully. Now here's where the trimming actually got difficult. You have to flip the top inside out into the body and trim it so that way it can fit inside. Almost fit here, but I had to go back for a couple more rounds of trimming on the inside to make sure that it fit, and success. As usual, I'm trimming the outside just to make sure that the shape is what I wanted to, and trimming down some of that thickness. And then here we are. I didn't trim the bottom, so I used this tool to kind of clean it up. Here's my other trimmed closed form, which I didn't record because I had to focus. Be sure to check out parts 1 and 2 in case you missed it, and I will see y'all next time. Welcome to day 4, and we are sculpting today. So right now I am working on adding different pieces of clay to all of my clay bodies so far that have dried. And right now I'm trying to put this handle on this black foam form that you see, and that's kind of this process of using water to kind of form the shape of a handle. Long story short, even though you're seeing me doing this, the only point of this was just good practice because I was absolutely sucking at this. I put it on there, I scrapped it, was not feeling it. A few minutes later, here's what we have, which is a completely different type of handle, which was created from a super duper thin coil, and this was my inspiration. This next piece was shaped like an acorn to me, and so I decided I was just gonna do an acorn shape on top, and I took this metal tool and just started scraping that in there. I wish I would have did the acorn shape a little bit larger and a little bit deeper, but it did not take long, and I feel like it turned out so cute. Hey y'all, long time no chat. It is raining, so that sucks, but I'm on my way into the studio right now. I have literally 3 more lidded jars to trim. One of them I think I'm gonna scrap, but I'll show you what I did with it. I think I'm gonna scrap it, and then I have the other 3 lidded jars to trim today. Hopefully I'll do a little bit of, I don't know if I want to do sculpting or more carving, but I have a little bit of inspo, so let's get started. So the technique being used to actually trim these is by just sticking it flat on the wheel using a little bit of water and the suction. So as you can see, I'm kind of rubbing it around the wheel, trying to get it as suction as possible as some of that slip gets a little bit sticky, and centering it so that way I can trim the entire body and I don't have to use any cleanups at the bottom. Once we're centered, I got my super big like carving tool and I I just started taking off the thickness. This piece was so thick. And that's really a skill and a key that I've learned through all of this whole 6-week program, is that I need to throw thinner, and I can throw thinner. So to remove the gallery, I take my needle tool right where I poked the holes in the beginning and just start to slowly cut the top off. This is the part that's super tricky because I have to flip the top over and kind of position it within the clay body to actually trim the top. The lid was so difficult to trim, but this is what it was looking like, and honestly, this was one of my favorite lids that I did. The process of trimming the lid and making sure that it fits inside of the gallery was just kind of a back and forth thing. You trim the body, you trim the lid, but once everything was cohesive, I just trimmed the outside one last time to make sure that everything looks super smooth. So today is a carving day, which I absolutely loved. And here's all the pieces, leather hard, especially the ring piece. I was so happy how this turned out. But so for this big piece, I wanted to do kind of like this honeycomb looking thing. I'll add some pics for inspo, but essentially I just took a pencil and freestyled the hexagon figure all over. I wish now that I did them bigger, and I wish that I did more of them. And I wish I did them a little bit deeper too. Next was this little hut looking, I have no idea. The top of it just gives me kind of like a hut shape, but essentially I painted black underglaze on this while it was leather hard. And then now it's kind of, I guess, like sgraffito, but I am carving just some freehand leaves into it. So that way when it gets fired, the black underglaze is already on there. After I kind of put the initial shape in there, then I really just started to carve it out, make it as deep as I can. And this is how it was turning out. Here are what the last two of these are looking like after I did my carvings, and I literally cannot wait for these to come out of the kiln. Hello, y'all. I feel like it has been so long because I've been so absolutely crazy busy. But I am on my way into the studio, probably for the last time doing real work, and I'm really hoping to finish things up this time today. I am glazing, fingers crossed if my stuff is out of the kiln. It should be. I haven't been here in over a week. So fingers crossed that my stuff is out the kiln so I can show you that. And then I'm going to glaze some. Disclaimer, I don't know if I'm going to glaze them all. It is definitely still 5 pieces, which is a lot. And one of them, I didn't plan on glazing at all. I was actually going to want to do some car paint on it, since the one with the rings can't really be glazed or else it'll just stick together. So I will see. This definitely won't be the last update that you see in this vlog, because I'm going to show you the finished product, of course, but today I will be glazing. So stay tuned if this is one of your favorite parts of my pottery vlogs. So starting off strong, everyone, I went to shake up the glaze and it spilled absolutely everywhere. And I'm not gonna lie, that kind of killed my mood, but we prevail. Starting off with my acorn piece, here are the 2 glaze colors that I'm using. I'm using textured amber and Albany slip brown. I really encourage every single one of you watching this video to just go and try a pottery class. I feel like the learning aspect of it is really awesome, but just the peacefulness of you doing your piece, you're glazing, you're painting. I mean, you're just really taking time away from life and just pouring it into a project, and it's just absolutely so fun to get away, get your mind off of everything, and just concentrate on making a pretty piece.
Baby, what you call this? If the shit don't involve money, I'm off it. I can be your role model. Jimi Hendrix. Before we end it, go straight to GT3. No more what shows, no MTV.
So after a lot of deliberation from the pictures that I saw for my inspo, I decided to do this like yellow glaze for the actual honeycomb pieces, and that glaze is the Potter's Choice Iron Yellow. I'm not gonna lie, it was super tedious. I had this super tiny brush and it took forever. So on this day, I did not finish painting this piece. Like, I did not finish glazing. It took so long. So here are some of my other pieces coming out of the kiln. This is with the bisque fire. I just love how these rings turned out. So proud of that. Here is the bubble and the top is missing. And then here is the underglaze leaf situation. Hey y'all, we have finally made it to the last day in the studio working on these pieces. Here are the pieces that I have left and the glazes that I'm going to put on them. And this little piece with the red clay was donated to me, so I just ended up glazing it this like Celadon Weeping Plum pinky color. It was cute, it was fun, and I just have it in the house.
Baby, what you call this? If the shit don't involve money, I'm off it. I can be your role model. Jimi Hendrix.
I am just putting clear glaze all over the black underglaze leaf sgraffito situation. And foreshadowing, it did not turn out good. And this was just so fun painting on this pretty blue glaze. I was so excited to see how this turned out. And then here's me just squeezing in this oatmeal color. This oatmeal color was supposed to have this like speckle situation, but it's kind of cream. I wanted it pretty neutral. So this did take a while, just so did the honeycombs, because I have to kind of get around everything and make sure everything is covered. Here's all my pieces, and I cannot wait to show you all the finished products. See you tomorrow. As you can see from all these bags I have, my pieces are all in here. I want to show you them all one by one and kind of talk about what I like and don't like about each piece. Not that there's anything necessarily negative, just things that I could definitely learn from moving forward. So let's get into it. Okay, so starting off, I'm gonna also preface me showing these results that a lot of these did not turn out the way that I thought. And kind of it was a little bit hard because some of it was, I feel like, a me thing. Some of it was just, there's a 6-week class and I also am doing my own things in pottery outside of that. And then by the time it was time for class to be over, I was feeling a little bit burnt out and drained and maybe didn't put my full effort into it. And then also just, you know, not every time you make something it turns out the way you want. Not every glaze combo comes out the way you want. You all should know by now I love to freestyle my glaze combos, but that's just something that you live with and you learn from and you move on. So this first piece right here, this is what it looks like. I was just doing a clear glaze on this in probably the last couple of clips. Now, what I learned is that this black underglaze, or just underglaze in general, if it's applied too thick, which I didn't apply it very thick, can chip off sometimes. I had some of these big spaces like before I even put the clear glaze on. And then I did like 2-3 layers of clear glaze. I did the brush on clear. I probably should have done dip, but I was told that I would be able to do clear glaze with no problems. Start to see this pull away over here, which I was not expecting to happen. Otherwise, I personally really like this technique of underglazing and like, I don't know, I can't remember if it's called sgraffito or not, but just doing underglaze and then carving whatever you want into it. So I kind of appreciate that. And then here's the top again. The top, like, it doesn't really look clear and the glaze kind of looks cloudy. It was a learning experience. This is one of the ones where when I was trimming the top, I completely ended up removing the gallery. So it just sits right on top, cute like that. There's no purpose for any of the ones that I made besides just learning a new skill. So here is the black one. Okay, next up, this one is one where I completely scrapped the top entirely because it also got messed up in the trimming phase. So I just ended up glazing it. This is my bubble one, I know. I really like the bubbles, but I was able to try out a new glaze. So the positive of this is that I never tried this baby blue glaze. I hadn't seen it in the studio before, and I noticed it the other day when I was glazing. I put 3 layers on here, maybe could have did 4. There's honestly a lot of like drippage. I don't know if you can kind of see towards the bottom, like it's not technically a lot of dripping, but for me to only have put 3 even thin coats on here, that's a decent amount of dripping. And then I don't necessarily care for how the white spots came out in the glaze, but you live and you learn and you try again. So this is a baby blue one that does not have a top. Now, if anybody can guess which one is next from what you've already seen in this pottery vlog, then you get 10 brownie points. Drum roll. It's my honeycomb one. Okay, so it turns out that none of these glazes came out the way that I thought they were supposed to come out. Remember, y'all, I did a yellow color on the actual honeycomb, and then I did this oatmeal color on the rest of the body because the oatmeal had kind of a speckle to it. Here is the top. Not only did this glaze not turn out the way I thought, inside's beautiful though. It doesn't really fit, so I'll just have to like sand some of that edge down. If you can see, I'm gonna have to sand some of that edge down because it doesn't really fit to clothes. Like if I set it like this, it's good, but literally when I went to pick it up the other day, it did not fit because, oh, it almost didn't fit again. It did not fit because somebody ended up putting the top on it, and I put it on the glaze cart not together, but they ended up putting the top on it, I think, just to be courteous and keep everybody's stuff together. And I was like, oh my God, it could not come off. I had to get an instructor to help me. So I love how that one turned out. I wish I would have done larger honeycomb sections. I don't know, maybe just did it in a different color entirely. Maybe experimented with some yellow underglaze on the honeycomb so that the color payout would be better. But I'm not mad at this. Okay, so next up, this piece is not actually glazed, but it is fired and you've already seen it. But due to the complexity of the structure, I actually kind of want to experiment with some type of car paint or like spray paint like that. That's not going to melt and stick together in the kiln. So this would be my little rings jar. It's fully bisque, so it's all ready to go for me to paint however I feel like painting it. This is how the top looks. If you don't remember from previous, I love how secure the seal is on this one. I mean, if you twist it the right way, you can't even really tell that it's like 2 different pieces technically. And so here are the rings. This is where I see that I got a little bit lazy because I never came back to like reshape the rings and make them super circular, but they are together and stuck. And so this is the piece right here I'm talking about. If I tried to glaze this and put this in the kiln, the rings wouldn't be able to move freely anymore unless I had some type of a rig to sit all the rings up like this in the kiln and not have them touch, which just was way more work than I intended on putting into any of these pieces. So this one right here, if I do end up updating y'all, then it will be on my page. It'll probably be on YouTube Shorts if anything, but I'm going to put some car paint on this one, so stay tuned for that. Okay, and then last but not least, my absolute favorite piece. I'm not even gonna rate any of the pieces because it was a learning experience and it was a very good class, but my favorite piece is my acorn. Isn't she beautiful? Let me open her up. I feel like I really like the color payout. I know I did 2 different colors. It's in the vlog. I can't remember off the top of my head. And then I have this little acorn shape on top. Now, I probably did way too many layers of glaze on the acorn part. I probably could have done, I think I only did 3 layers. Maybe I probably did 4. I could have brought it down to most likely 2 layers, so that way you see how the glaze has pooled into some of those pockets. But I just really like how the edges of the carving is nice and dark. And then I really like just how I glazed this. The inside of this is glazed, and it's like, it's really clean for me to have glaze this and then clean this up by hand. Like, I didn't use any wax because it's such a complex situation here. So that's the inside of the top, and then this is the inside of the bottom of the acorn, which again, I feel like I did such a good job glazing this one. Very proud. So this is my absolute favorite piece, and I personally give it a 10 out of 10. Color is a 10 out of 10. The shape is so cute, and I don't know what I'm gonna do with any of these pieces, but this one is by far my favorite. Well, everybody, that's all my pieces. This 6-week class, I mean, I learned a lot. I even had like artist burnout for the first time, where I was trying to come up with ideas on projects to work on in the studio outside of this, and I just couldn't even think mentally. Or even days where I came and I didn't even know how I wanted to design a certain piece. So it also really told me, like, art is so free. I already knew that art was free, but art is extremely free. Like, just because you have a membership at a pottery studio does not mean you need to burn yourself out making pottery. So I know for next time that, you know, let's go to the studio when I want to get my skills together, and let's go to the studio when I really want to create something, or when I really want to learn something, not because I need to just fill this need in myself to keep busy and to be pouring into my hobby, you know. So that's just a side tidbit, more personal than what's needed here. But yeah, I super duper enjoyed the month of April, going through the class and making all of these. I made some friends in the studio, which was really nice, because up until that point, Emma was only really cool with the instructors. So the whole experience with this workshop, I'm just gonna give like a 10 out of 10, because it was a really fun learning experience, and I came out with like 5 pieces. So that's always fun, to be able to take your projects home and look at them and put them on the shelf. Y'all, the next video you see, I might actually have a pottery shelf, because I'm starting to have way too much stuff in here. Like, I either need to give some stuff away, sell some stuff, or stop making so much. Anyways, I'm gonna stop babbling. I really hope that you enjoyed watching this video. If you are on my channel and you like tuning into my pottery stuff, let me know what you would like me to make next, or what you'd like to see me try. I kind of have a feeling for what I want to do next, so I'm just gonna put it out there that the next pottery vlog should be pretty fun and cute. So yeah, like I was saying before, I really hope you enjoyed, and thank you so much for watching, and make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Bye!